On today's episode, the last episode of the year, we are going to be talking about patients and them, quote unquote, not reading your intake forms.
Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. As always, before we jump in, I want to just give a quick intro to Jane, the podcast sponsor. Jane is a clinic management software and EMR, and I have a quick message from them. Waiting on hold isn't anyone's idea of time well spent, especially when you're busy providing exceptional care to your patients and clients and running your clinic. The Jane team knows how valuable your time is, and that's why they work hard to keep call wait times to an average of 2 minutes. This means you can get quick answers to your clinic questions and head into your weekend with one less task on your to-do list. Plus, unlimited phone, email, and live chat support from their team of friendly humans is included in every Jane subscription. So no matter where you're at in your Jane journey, they're always there to lend a hand. To see how you can help take back your time, personal time that is, or clinic management time, head to the show notes. You can jump on the Meet Jane app link and you can book a one-on-one demo or use my code LEX1MO, that's LEX1MO, at sign up for a 1-month grace period applied to your new Jane account. And just so you know and are aware, one of the reasons I switched to Jane when I was running the practice is because of the customer service. So I can personally speak to the fact that their customer service is the best. As always, a huge thank you to Jane for sponsoring Up in My Business.
Welcome back to another episode of Up in My Business. As you can tell, I am sick. I sound a lot worse than I feel today, which typically it's always the case for me. It's always like in the front of my face. So I sound awful. Know that if you're concerned, thank you. And also I feel a lot better than I sound. But I pushed off recording this until it's 6:58 on the West Coast right now, and this episode launches tomorrow morning. But I waited until last minute to record because I thought my voice would sound better, but it doesn't. So lo and behold, here we are. This will be the last episode for 2024. I almost said 5. We're going into 2025, and it's just been a really great year. I will say that, I posted about how I hit 100 episodes. This is episode 101, and I'll get into that in a second as well. But I am just super thankful and for every single person who listens and for sharing the podcast and letting me know that, an episode landed with you and asking questions after episodes. It really, really does make a difference, and it makes me truly excited to show up every week. I'll be here anyway, but I am just really happy about that. So thank you so much. I really am grateful. I also want to just say, listen to me sniffling. I also just want to say that I mentioned doing a video podcast after episode 101 or 100, and I have decided not to do that. Reason being, I actually decided this because of my word of the year for 2025. It's intentional, and it did not fit into my life or business plan to add a video to this podcast because if you don't, clearly I'm recording this at 7 p.m. I just got out of the shower. I'm in my pajamas. Am I the person who's going to get all sorts of dressed up for a video podcast? Absolutely not. If you know me, that would not be the case. But I also know it's an extra barrier. So I'm in my office and I have lights, but I don't have great lights. So if I want to put them on a spectrum, Shantae has really great lights in her office, external lights, whereas I don't. So recording at night would be pretty impossible for me. And that means that I have to change my schedule and put the video in the middle of the week and is it in the morning? And it was just too much. And so I leaned on my word of the year, intentional, and just said, it does not make sense to do that. right now. So I might do it some random time between episodes 100 and 200. Who knows? I don't know. But just giving you an update on that because I did mention it. I also just, I guess we'll always do the same. Business update next. You're going to hear, not this episode, but next episode, Jane is going to not be sponsoring the episodes through January. The long and the short in that is that we had a meeting. We didn't get to our meeting, our re-up meeting for sponsoring. So just know that if you're a weekly listener and you missed the Jane app intro, they're coming back. It's just we could not get on each other's schedule until January. So they'll be back in February with the sponsorship and all that jazz. And a huge thank you to them. They are obviously the best brand to work with, and just really grateful that they continue to sponsor the podcast. In addition, let's think, sponsorship. We'll go back, personal business updates. Any other business stuff going down? I made some big updates to my website this week. It's honestly felt great to not have any live calls and work scheduled. I don't want to use the word bored because I'm not bored, but I'm finding a lot of things that I'm just checking off my list, and it's been really great. So I'm super grateful that I did that for myself this year, and I will be doing it again next year because not having things scheduled in these weeks where you don't even know what day it is. Genuinely, I am recording this podcast because I was sitting on my rocking chair, and I was like, oh shit, I have to record a podcast right now, thinking it was Saturday still. It's not Saturday. So here we are. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, Jesus. Welcome. I will be doing that break again next year just because it's so nice to have. And I will say that if you haven't done that for yourself, I highly recommend it. We'll jump into, I guess, another business thing I should say before I move on. Discovery calls, coaching calls, everything is booking into February, my friends. I have a live event. I took time off. My schedule is packed. And I'm very, very grateful for that. I just am saying that if you're waiting to get on my schedule, know that now is the time. And if you're in SEO school and you received my email about the potential offer that I'm going to be starting for you, so SEO school students only who have finished SEO school, I am mapping that out right now. That's been part of my project over this break. And I'm being really intentional with it. So it's coming, and I plan to send an email about it in the new year because no one has time to read that right now, but I plan to send it out in the new year. And I'm really excited for it, but I need to make sure that I structure it in a way that makes sense. And I'm considering doing 2 different price points with 2 different access levels. I'm not positive yet, and I'm thinking it would be a February start. So if you listen to the podcast and you recall me sending out that email, that info ask email, that's where we're at on that. All right, personal stuff. Traveled last week, got sick. Here we are. Went to the East Coast. It was great. Saw my family, saw my friends who I've been friends with for so many years at this point, over 20 years of friendship, which is wild to me. Some of them even more than that. And got to spend time with everybody, I would say, most people that I would want to see if I go home. And it's great. I only go home once a year at this point. So I will say the time flies by. Like, it's wild to me that it was already Christmas and it's already 2025, a new year. Like, time flies really fast. And it is still really hard to tell time in California just because the weather is so consistent. Although I will say the weather has been absolute shit lately, just wet and cold. But it was a great time. I will say the only downfall was that I got sick. We did bring Moose. It was a great success. I will still give her the props, even though she pooped in the middle of Atlanta airport. I received so many DMs from people saying that their dogs do that too, because no dog wants to go in the animal relief area. And honestly, I don't see how any dog goes in that animal relief area unless it's a male dog. And I say that because male dogs pee on everything, and they just pee because they're around other places that other dogs have peed on. And so they pee. They want to mark their spot. Female dogs don't typically do that. And Moose definitely doesn't do that. She is like very timid with her bathroom habits. So I will say that I do not fault her. I'm like, you know what you like and what you don't like. And she'd rather poop in the middle of the freaking airport than in this private room. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. She probably thought that we were going to lock her up in that room and leave. I'm not really sure, but she has anxiety. So yeah, it was great though. People loved seeing her. People kept asking where she goes. I'm like, she goes under the seat. And like this one man kind of like rolled his eyes at me when he was like, does that dog fit underneath the seat? And, I had said like, yes, she does. And he kind of like rolled his eyes at me and looked at the woman next to him, which I'm assuming was his partner. And I was like, this man is sitting right across from us and he's going to see this dog go underneath the seat and be like, oh my God, she does fit. And I'm going to look at him and be like, see, I told you so. That didn't happen. However, that's how I felt in my head. I was pretty annoyed. I was like, you don't know any of my history and why she's even here. And also, what do you care if she fits underneath the seat? You're not even sitting next to us. He was sitting in the other row across the aisle. So you're not even sitting here. And the two people that we did sit with that ended up on 2 flights, we sat next to people and they both loved Moose, even though they literally said to us, I didn't even know she was there. This woman was sitting next to me and she was like, oh my God, you have a dog? And this was like, I don't know, within an hour of the flight taking off. I can't remember what happened. Oh, the plane took off. And like, it's really loud. And Moose stood up. And the woman was like, you have a dog? I didn't even know. She's like, I didn't even know she was there. And I was like, I know, because she's a great dog. But anyway, there's my rant for the day. Other than that, really no other big updates. We are here for a bit now. Oh, I said no big updates. Shantae's birthday party is this weekend, and I'm really excited for it. A lot of planning has been going into it. And I will say I definitely went all out. Because you only turned 40 once and I want it to be a really special time. And there are some really special people coming to the party and I'm just really excited for everything. And I just know that it's going to be a great time. Yeah, I genuinely am just very excited. So that is happening on the 3rd. So this Friday, we're having a birthday party for her. And other than that, I think that's really all the personal updates. I'm very excited to not be traveling. And also this cold can get GTFO ASAP because I also am excited for her birthday on Wednesday. And I'm like, can I not be sick? That'd be great. So yeah, I'm just hoping this cold goes away. All right. So here's the deal, Leo. I decided to record this episode. I was just going to do like personal business updates and like answer some questions, but I didn't put a question box up. And also I figured if we're going to start the new year with something different, might as well give you something to do and maybe a little bit of homework. And I have seen, so here's the thing. The reason I am doing this episode today, I'm going to be talking about intake forms, and people say patients aren't reading the emails that get sent out with like the clinic information. Okay, got it. So patients aren't reading the emails that go out from the practice, and they're saying I'm putting a lot of important information in there and the patients aren't reading it. Great. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about. The reason we're talking about that, one, I see this posted in Facebook groups a lot. And 2, I just had my own experience with this because I went to a new dentist and their emails and their texts were so damn good that I posted about it and people were asking me, but people don't read this. Like, you actually read this? Because my suggestion in the post was like, make your emails have important stuff and like people want to read them. So people were asking, well, no, like people actually read this. I'm told that people don't read it. Okay, so let's attack it. Let's talk about it because I hear you. I owned a practice. I understand that there are people in this world, and we're just going to accept this. There are a large amount of people in this world that won't read your emails. However, we can do a lot of things to make sure that they know that they should read it. So I am just going to give two, I'm going to actually just tell you the process in my head of what makes the most sense as far as let's make sure the patients get the important stuff into their inbox, whatever that is, text message, email, and that they actually read it, right? Because that's the goal. You want it's getting there. They're just quote unquote not reading it. So one of the easiest things that you can do, regardless of if you have automated scheduling, meaning someone can go on, schedule an initial evaluation, and then they get an email from you in response. Because most times when you schedule and you have a scheduling software, an automated email comes back and it's like, thanks for booking. Okay, so let's just assume that the patient's not reading that. That's okay, because most people will tell me, well, I also call that person. So here's the thing. It depends on what type of practice you have. Are you a solo practitioner? Do you have a front desk admin? What do you have, right? But here's the thing. If someone self-booked an eval, on my side, on my end as a practitioner / clinic owner, I would always call that person because I want people to be able to schedule by themselves. I don't want you to have to call. I don't want you to have to fill out a form. I would love it if you could just go schedule by yourself. And I would also follow this same exact procedure with my business right now. So let's just say they schedule themselves. The thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to look at that person. And if they are a new patient and they've never been to my practice, I'm going to call them. I'm going to call them. And then I'm probably also, if they don't pick up, I'll leave a message, but I will also text them. So the reason I'm going to do this is because I want to make sure I cross my T's and dot my I's. I owned a cash-based practice. If people just go on and book and they don't notice the price, or God forbid, you don't have like a deposit or a card, you take the card on file, or they have to pay for the whole visit up front, which is also okay, by the way, they might not pay you. They might not read your email, and they might not know that they have to pay in cash for the service. Okay, so let's just take that and, put that in our head and we'll think about that. I knew that that could be the case. So I controlled for the situation by always calling new patients. Even if that meant that it was me calling someone on my lunch and then sending a text message. On that phone call, I would go through all of the details with them. I would say, we're located here. This is what we're going to do on that day. This is what it's going to look like. This is the cost. This is how you pay. We're not in network of insurance, yada, yada, yada. Then at the end of the conversation, I would always let them know, hey, look, it would mean a lot to me if you would go check out the email that I sent or that you received in response to booking. Inside that email, there's a lot of really important information that I would love for you to know. And it has to do with our clinic, what our expectations in the clinic, where we're located, the directions are there, how we format our visits is there, whatever you have in that. I make it a point to say it would be great if you could do this. I also will say it's very helpful to say patients who do the best here, or patients who get the best results, typically read that email. That email is a really great email to start off with, and it gives you a really good insight into our clinic. So if you want to get good results, you're going to automatically think, well, I should go read that email. All right. And same thing with a text message. So if you send out a text, people typically read that. So typically what I will say is that the texts that I get from my dentist are probably the most descriptive, detailed texts I have ever gotten from a business. They say, we're saving a spot for you. If you can't come, here's the cancellation policy. This is the cost if you don't cancel by this date. This is the cost of your visit. Your visit is at this time. Save extra time because the parking lots are closed. And this is all in a text message, folks. Text message. Now, this is why it's important to have something like Spruce Health, in my opinion. So Spruce Health is a great phone software because you can automate all of this stuff and save it as a template. And you can do a lot of different things with Inside Spruce that I would not be running a practice unless I could do all of the things that Spruce does with a phone, because you can also type on your computer, right? So instead of typing on your, like a text message with your hands, you can use your computer. And for me, that was a game changer. So anyway, include the important details in a text message as well. So if you feel like people aren't reading your stuff, you can also put the same stuff in a text message, and people will typically read the text message. I will also say that people write these big ass emails to people and without spaces. They're like writing a novel. It's okay to write a lot, but make sure you're separating out the important details. So have multiple paragraphs, bold words, have sections, have bulleted lists. Like it's very tough to read something that's a text wall. Like we all know that. So if your initial email to people is a text wall and it's very hard to skim, or if it's just hard to read at all because the font is small, the font is weird looking. Sometimes there's people try to use custom fonts in email and it doesn't work because not all email providers allow for the same fonts. But anyway, if the font is hard to read, people aren't going to read it. So make it easy to read, right? The biggest thing, and I will say this over and over and over again, to send things more than once. So in your appointment reminder, I would also have the initial stuff in there. And then also make sure you're telling people that this thing exists, and the people who get the best results at the clinic are the people who feel, the people who do the best with Inside Our Clinic have said that initial email is really helpful for them. So I would go read that email. Boom. Done. Now someone's going to say and that patient who wants to come see you, who's paying $200 a visit plus, is going to say, well, I want results. I'm going to go read that email. Okay. So drawing attention to it, saying it more than once, giving them multiple mediums to read it on. So yes, it'll be in an email. Yes, it'll be in a text. I get the same exact information in an email and a text from the dentist. There's no harm in that. Do it. Like, let that happen. It's fine. Even if I read it twice, great. Now I've read it twice, not just once, right? So put all the information in there. Now, another thing that I want to say that was a game changer in my business or the practice was having an information packet at an initial evaluation. So this does not replace your initial email. It does not replace your appointment reminders. It certainly doesn't replace any of that stuff. But what it does do is it gives someone or the patient another place to learn about your clinic. So if they come in for an initial evaluation, ideally you have talked to them on the phone after they've self-scheduled, or you've scheduled them because they have a discovery call with you, or because they filled out a form and you called them, whatever it is. You've told them that this email exists, there's important information in it, yada, yada, yada. They hopefully read that email. Okay, great. And then at their initial evaluation, at the end of the initial evaluation, we gave people boxes. And inside that box was a t-shirt for the clinic. It was an informational packet about the clinic. So all the services we offer, what sessions look like, what packages look like, what the hours of the clinic were, the address of the clinic, a communication expectation. So if you give people access to text you, I communicate and I will message you back Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 or whatever that may be. So all of that stuff was in this welcome packet, and it was printed on really nice high gloss paper. It was folded. It was a 5x7 packet, and it had everything they could possibly need inside of it. The cool thing was that it had other services and other diagnoses, other problems, if you will, that we addressed in the clinic. Because if someone came in and they're like, I'm here for my knee, but then their kid has a concussion, they're like, oh my God, I know that they do concussion because it's inside that packet. Now, secondarily, one, if you want that packet, you can go on my website. I have Canva templates for business on there. You can go get it. It's literally right there. The second thing that I want to say with that is the informational packet is really nice because I also would spend the last 10 minutes of the session, especially in initial evaluation, wrapping everything up And then also going through the packet with them, because yes, you can hand it to them and then it might get lost in their car. So I control the situation as much as I possibly can, and I go through each bullet point with them. It's just like when I finish a coaching call, I'm like, okay, let's talk about our to-do list. We're going to do this, 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 and this. I'll also go through that packet with the patient so that they have all the information. That way, when they cancel on visit 2, 20 minutes before their appointment, I'm like, hey, look, we talked about the cancellation policy. If you decide to give people one pass, you can do that at that point. Or you can say, I'm going to have to proceed with our cancellation policy because we talked about that on our first visit and we saved this appointment just for you. It's really important to make sure that you're here for that. Because if you're not here, another patient could have come in, and ideally they listen and they don't do that again. But all of that stuff, you go over it all so they know the expectation. And also in your appointment reminders via text and via email, you let them know when is the last minute they can cancel without having a fee. What is the fee if they do wait to cancel? All that information is there. All right. I will get off my soapbox. I am pretty passionate about this only because people want to know how to behave and people are looking to you to be the expert. So if they're calling you and you're expecting them to read an email, you're setting an expectation in your mind for that person without notifying them of it. How fair is that? It's not fair at all, right? And fairness, we can talk about fairness, but the expectation there is you're setting an expectation without ever letting the patient know that that's the expectation you've set for them. So that's really difficult. That's difficult to know, and it's difficult to have someone succeed with that expectation being placed on them, even though they're not even being told. And you might respond back and be like, but I read every email. Y'all, most physical therapists are type A personalities. I get it because I am one. We read everything. Understand that a lot of patients aren't type A. And even if they are, people are busy as hell. Like we are busy. Everyone is busy. They mark the email unread and they're like, I'll go back to it. And they never go back to it. The important thing is that you draw their attention to it and then create multiple touch points with the same exact information so that you know you can cross your T's, dot your I's. They have this information. They've been given it multiple times. They understand. Or they can ask questions that they don't understand. Because one of the biggest compliments, I will be honest about this, one of the biggest compliments that you can get when you are basically excelling in communication is that, hey, I got so many reminders for this appointment and I knew when the appointment was and here I am. Or I got so many appointment reminders for this session and I knew exactly what to expect. Or some people would just say, I got so many reminders for this session. It was so helpful. And you're like, I know, isn't it great? Some people will be annoyed. You can tell them they can opt out. But I always used to say, like, we have multiple reminders because we don't want you to miss your appointment because we don't want to charge a cancellation or no-show fee just as much as you don't want to pay it. Like, done. People really just want to know how to behave. And I say behave, meaning like, how do I get results with you? How can I do X, Y, and Z in order to get the result that I want, that I know that you can help me with? So there it is. I do think that if you feel like people are not reading your emails or not reading your appointment reminders, there are multiple things that you can do and take action on in order to help them and release that expectation that they're going to do something if you haven't said something to them yet. So just understand that people want to do the things that are going to make them get results, especially if they're paying for a cash-based practice. So let them know. Let them know how they can do that. Okay. Well, happy almost New Year. I will actually probably be recording the next episode directly after this one because it's going to be a busy, busy weekend. So have a great New Year. And I'm going to say the phrase, I'll catch you next year. Goodness gracious. Okay. I am going to try to not be sick the next time I record, but thanks for bearing with me. I really appreciate it. I look forward to chatting with you again next week. And yeah, just thank you. Thank you so much. I hope your 2024 was incredible or treated you well. All right, friends. Thank you. I will catch you next time.